At this point, the messages of Hypnosis Mic, Division Rap Battle have been analyzed to death. At least, certain aspects of the series have. Many have taken on the more misogynistic undertones of the series, and this is a fair critique. We don't often see women wielding hypnosis microphones throughout the series, except for the women in positions of power. However, it seems many men have access to the microphones, even outside the main cast. In addition, the series paints the matriarchal government as evil and demanding control over men, and it portrays men as always wanting to be aggressive and needing some kind of outlet for fighting. This point of view does somewhat depend on your perception of the leading women, though. Are they evil and manipulative because they're women, or because they're leaders of a tyrannical government? Collider video of the day. However, there is a rather fascinating and confusing message hidden in Hypnosis Mic, and that is its views on censorship and the media. This particular aspect of the series is admittedly one you have to dig for at times. The overall premise of Hypnosis Mic is that in a world without weapons or violence, the use of lyrical battles with specially modified microphones have become commonplace. These microphones are able to project the effects of their users, and their attacks specifically target their opponents and minimize collateral damage. The usual message taken away from the premise at a surface level is that the series takes an anti-violence stance. But let's break down this premise and focus on its connections to words. Hypnosis Mic's pondering of media and censorship can be described in a common phrase: the pen is mightier than the sword. It can be taken pretty literally in this case. Weapons have been replaced with words. But in this sense alone, the series is tied to the idea of media. Outcomes of battles are based on the words used by each side, and in the end, those that win gain more territory and prestige. This is something that alludes to the power of media and news outlets. If you can get people to believe in your words, you've already won the battle. This also plays into the hypnosis microphone itself. These microphones have mind-altering effects, and pose a great cost to user and target, both mentally and physically. They adapt to their user and project abilities based on the rapper's personality. Most importantly, we learned throughout the series that certain groups of people are given different microphones than others. For example, ex-military officer Rio has a military-grade prototype microphone, and police officer Juto has a specialized police microphone. These are somewhat stronger and more effective than regular microphones. These facts of the series lend to the conclusion that hypnosis microphones themselves are a symbol of media indoctrination. They are tailored to an audience, purposely built to manipulate a person's thoughts, and can be wielded by those in power for victory. However, there is also a secondary symbolism that comes from the microphone, and that is the voice of the common masses. The series shows on multiple occasions that while only some have legitimate hypnosis microphones, a number of illegal microphones are produced and used by random citizens. However, they don't tailor to fit their user, they instead can be used by anyone, and are usually amplified by groups of people to gain power. There are even times when the use of these microphones prove to be a challenge for rappers with legitimate microphones. The series also states that the reason we often only see men using the hypnosis microphones is because they were provided by the party of words, the government party that implemented the use of the microphones. This is due to the fact that the area where hypnosis microphones are used is within the divisions, which are the only places men are allowed to live. This could also mean that the main wielders of the microphones, the Buster Brothers, Mad Trigger Crew, Fling Posse, and Matinro, are using these microphones as a way to speak out against the tyranny of the government. In some ways, the hypnosis microphones have conflicting symbolism. They are both weapons of the powerful but also tools of the weak. However, both options lead back to the idea that they represent the influence media can have on people, and how media can be a tool for individuals to defend themselves and their interests. For this reason, the duality of the symbol makes sense. It always depends on whose message is being spread. Another interesting point the series tries to make is about personal attacks over legitimate substance. Many of the lyrics in the rap battles are focused on undercutting the enemy through taunts and harsh, violent lyrics. This, naturally, makes sense given the situation. These battles are wars for turf, power, and money. If you can get the job done with dirty words, why shouldn't you? This can be seen as a reference to the way some media outlets try to focus on attacking people based on appearance or personality to bolster their views rather than focusing on their actions. In the case of Hypnosis Mic, these attacks are seen as commonplace and necessary given the stakes. This can be considered as the series taking a positive stance on this kind of media, but the series also often demonstrates that these are not the only kind of lyrics that exist. There are plenty of solo and group songs that have lyrics focused on issues the groups face and character personality, and there are far more of these than the actual rap battles. In this sense, it can be assumed that Hypnosis Mic also takes a stand against these kinds of blatant insults and lack of substance. Lastly, and perhaps most clear as a theme, is the censorship by the party of words. The government in Hypnosis Mic is the only entity that possesses hypnosis cancelers, which can cancel the effects of the hypnosis microphones. These are used to silence the groups during battles and prevent people from using the microphone against party of words members. They often use these devices to alter outcomes of battles as well. Unlike some symbolism in the series, this connection is rather clear, and the series' stance on this is clear as well. Censorship is bad, and the government shouldn't have the power to silence the people they govern. Hypnosis Mic is admittedly not an incredibly complex series on the surface. The premise is strange and sometimes a bit nonsensical, but when you stand at the corkboard with a bit of red string, there are quite a few connections to make. While the series' misogynistic undertones and stance on weapons and violence are usually the themes discussed due to being the most obvious, its symbolic connection to the idea of media, the government control thereof, and censorship are also important pieces of the story. That isn't to say that it explores these themes incredibly well, but it's worth noting that they exist in this project about rap battles and political takeover.